You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Palace of Mega Pencils. This is Super Mega Crash Brothers Turbo!
Well, hello, and welcome to Super Mega Crash Brothers Turbo. I'm your host, Stephen White. With me, as always, is my co-host, Lacey Finley.
Happy Monday.
So, week been good? Week been okay?
Yeah, we got through it.
Yeah.
Another busy week. Got through, and sad that it's like back to the next one. But, you know.
And we're officially in March. How about that?
Yes, we are. I know. February just flies on by, and then you got to pay rent again before you know it.
It's all because you're missing a couple of days, you know,
Yep.
those damn occasional leap years and whatnot.
Sure.
How dare February?
I know. Well, I mean, yeah, you have like 3 less days to make extra cash. Like, come on, that sucks. Like, we should always do it on the 3rd or something.
Right.
I don't know, because every month has a 3. So there you go.
You know, I've never questioned it, but why? Why is that? Why is it 28 days for February? Like, where did that... I understand the calendar and all that and man-made and whatnot. So is this part of the cycle? Did they just...
I think so. To supposedly try to keep us in the right seasons when things shift and, you know... Because the way the sun moves and does this nonsense for it all. Look, I'm not a scientist.
No.
Not an astronomer.
Whatever it may be.
I just go along with this crap, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have no choice. But yeah, I'm sure it's like something very detailed to do with that. And some sciencey person could probably explain it all better. And then I would just go, oh, okay. And probably not really understand what they meant. I was just like, I know it happens.
That's true. That's true.
It's good enough for me.
I mean, we'll be in summer before you know it, and then we'll be back to Christmas, and then the cycle starts all over again, and we're just like, where did the year go?
Every time. Every time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
So I wanted to pinpoint everybody to Horror Ramblings this week. We talked about Megan, or Mithrigan for the uninitiated.
Mithrigan is, what I see a lot of people saying.
Have you seen this movie?
I hadn't yet, no.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little something about something that I did that I shouldn't be mad, but I'm a little mad about it. So last week, the plan was for my wife and I to go see Cocaine Bear. Well, the entire weekend, as I kind of mentioned before, got shot, and it was just... You know, this thing happened, and the whole weekend went to shit, and it was just like, well, screw it. And so we didn't go see it, because we just didn't have the time, or we didn't feel like we would have the time, and it would just feel like not going out and enjoying ourselves, but just trying to squeeze it in, and I just didn't want to do that.
For the sake of it.
Yeah. So it was just like, all right, well, to hell with it, and we're just kind of sitting there, and we still needed an episode for Horror Ramblings, and I saw... that the unrated version of Megan was out. And I thought that would be worth talking about because it was not something that was initially released. Even when it came straight to video or VOD, they didn't put that out initially. It was just like after the fact. And they're like, oh, and by the way, unrated version if you want it. And it was like, oh, cool. Okay. So I thought, well, that would be kind of fun because we hadn't seen it. And I thought, well, since this is the unrated version, we could discuss that without having seen the PG-13 version. And then that could be a fun kind of conversation. And then we kind of explore where they could have made the cuts or did it really matter if it was PG-13 or not. And, you know, a fun little discussion about it while also reviewing the movie. Mm-hmm. But to do that, I had to buy movie. Because, you know, streaming. And I was like, oh, well, you know, whatever. Sure. I've heard good things. Maybe it'll be all right. But you see, what I didn't know is that this movie was also on Peacock. That very day. And I happened to notice it the day I was posting up about the episode. And I was just like, I think I had Google searched it because I was getting ready to look up images or something like that. And then it said, watch now, Peacock. And I was like, huh, what? I was like, no.
Like the unrated version was on Peacock for free?
The unrated version. And I looked at it and I was like, wait, what? No, what? And then I typed in some stuff and I said, when did Megan drop on Peacock? And I said February 24th. I was like, God damn it.
Did you buy it on the 23rd?
No, the 25th.
Oh.
So I should have known.
Well,
but again,
you can't catch all the things.
But again, as my wife said, she was just like, well, at least you got it. And I was like, yeah, but I paid.
Yeah, you probably can't give it back either.
No.
Get a refund.
And it would have been nice, because granted, I understand. For the sake of saying it, I did think it was a good movie. If you want to hear all my thoughts about it, you go listen to that episode. I'm not going to spoil that here.
Sure.
But it was just the fact that I already paid for this service where I could have watched it for free without having
felt like you paid for it twice.
Right. I didn't have to dole out $20 to buy it. I could have just watched it there and it would have evened itself out. I wouldn't have missed it in my collection.
Damn.
And now I'm stuck with it.
Well, yeah.
Again, not to complain, but it's still just kind of like
a bummer of circumstances.
Yeah, did not have to pay that money to watch it. That's one thing I'm always very cognizant of is if you get into this mood where you're like, because even when I'm on Vudu and I'll start looking at movies like digital ones, I'm like, ooh, I want to see that again. Oh, I hadn't seen that in a while. And then if I think about it for a second, I'm like, well, can I watch it on another streaming platform?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, yeah, you can.
Sure.
So why not just do that as opposed to buy it?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I bought a movie.
Yeah. Unless it's a movie like the Marvel movies, which I have all of, or collection, or a Godzilla film, which I have all.
Yeah.
That's a collection I am creating. A physical media collection. So if it's something like that or a very special edition version of a movie and, you want to have that, sure.
Yeah.
But most of the time for a basic run-of-the-mill movie that we all see,
right,
it's going to be there. It's going to be available.
It's going to be on some service at any point all the time, probably, certain ones.
There are tons of movies I have been waiting to see, like dying to see. Mm-hmm. And I just pull back on renting it. I understand it, could give money to the filmmakers when I get it, but I know it's going to wind up on one of these services. Cocaine Bear, that was actually one I was talking about. That will wind up on Peacock because it's a universal release.
Very soon. I wouldn't imagine that would be a very long theatrical run, no offense.
No. But
like if you waited maybe like 4 more weeks, you'd probably have it on VOD somewhere.
Doing the math on it, Megan came out in January. I'm almost positive. And a month later, it's already on Peacock. So
it feels like they're coming to streaming or an at-home service much quicker than they used to.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to milk that as long as you could in the theaters, but
yeah, I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna hold off. I really want to see it, but it's a universal release. All those seem to wind up on Peacock, so I'll bide my time.
Just give it a beat. Yeah, you might get to see it fairly soon.
I'm looking forward to it, regardless. So. Yeah, but I've heard a lot of great things about it. And Elizabeth Banks, who knew that? That's the direct.
Oh, is she in it?
She directed it.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
And it's just such an oddity. You're like, Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know she directed.
I mean, to each their own. I mean, I'm.
And this to be the debut.
I think she's done.
Or has she done some other stuff?
I think she directed one of the Pitch Perfect, if not 2 of the Pitch Perfect movies. I don't think she did the first one. I think she did the follow-up.
Maybe.
And then a few other films here and there. So she's had her hand in directing for a little while, but this,
all right. Yeah.
it's just an odd. That's a name you wouldn't necessarily associate. You'd think this would be one of these wild-ass directors who just do stupid asylum shit or
Right.
something.
Not like a bunch of comedy,
Yeah.
romantic comedy movie. I don't know. It seems like there was a good few of those in there too. That she did. Yeah. Well,
Like I said, I'm not knocking her. I think that's
wide
inspired.
variety of interests.
Yeah.
you know.
So, anyway, what you been playing?
Ooh, okay. So I did more Oxygen Not Included. I am starting to get a little better, but I had to like trash a few more bases because power becomes a little ridiculous and out of control. And I'm still trying to figure out why I have a transformer that can output 4,000 kilowatts, but the highest wire I have is 2. So I'm like, what? That's just going to overheat everything. Why are you even going to give me a transformer that can pull that much?
Yeah.
So maybe I'll figure it out at some point. Like why I would need a transformer that has way more than I'll ever be able to pull from a wire that I've, they have like heavier watt wires, but they can't go through walls. So I'm like, am I supposed to just make them all unhappy with wires hanging out everywhere out in the open? That doesn't seem safe. Doesn't seem like a good time. Anyway, so I broke down and watched a tutorial because I was getting so tired of getting about 115 days in to have to abandon it because I made such a mess that it wasn't even worth it. To try to go back and fix. I'd have everything crossed over each other so many times where I'm like, I can't even follow where this is going anymore. I just bloop, bloop, just keep drawing more wires wherever I need it, not even paying attention to how much more I'm adding to the weight of, the pull. So yeah, and they're getting really hot. So I'm getting to the point where I have to figure out how I'm supposed to cool this shit down. Cause part of their base is like 95 degrees right now. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, that's uncomfortable. I'm sorry. There's an ice biome right next door if you want to just walk over there and chill for a minute, but I'm trying to figure out how to get some of that over here. We'll figure it out or you'll die. I don't know. We'll see. But went through the Mafia Definitive Edition as well, just to take a look-see, and then ended up playing through the whole thing because it actually wasn't that long. I don't remember how long it took before. I don't think I ever played the first one. I think I did 2 and then 3, and for some reason missed the first one altogether. So this is probably my first time playing through it. But it looks good. Plenty of memes that I can make out of it. Same story. Rebuilt pretty well. I don't really know what to add to it. I mean, it's a far cry from the first one, obviously, because the first one came out, well, it was the PS2 era.
Yeah.
Because I think it came out on PC first and then got ported over to some consoles or whatever. So we're talking, almost 20 years? So it's definitely, the rebuild looks a heck of a lot nicer. And way different too if you did side by side, because we were just starting to get facial features, I guess, about that time, instead of it just being like a blank face with some eye holes and stuff where you can insert whomever you want to see there. And so I think there was probably some liberties with imagining what they would look like in this format, because you would put what's his name, Tommy, side by side, Tommy Angelo, and it's like okay, he's a little slimmer faced looking now, and all that kind of stuff, a little more squared out in the other one. But yeah, good job. I don't know, it's from 2K, so I'm happy that it came for free on something, because I don't like giving them money. They're one of the ones now that I kind of wait for a console, or if the Hubs is interested or anything, because they always want you to log into their launcher, and it's like, leave me alone. 2K. That's the one thing console players at least still have over us, is you don't have to deal with this DRM nonsense as often. There's some games that make you go online, but like for the most part you can just kind of play. So that's what I did there too. But that was about it, because I sunk a lot more time into Oxygen Not Included, because I was really determined to figure out how I was going to get up into space. Like, I'm digging up, man, and we're getting pretty far, and I'm still not seeing open air. So I don't know how much longer, because it's starting to take them a really long time to get from my base to all the way the heck up there, because we have to build a ladder.
Yeah. To space.
Yeah, to space. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, if there's a better way, I haven't found it yet. So I'm just building a ladder and digging up in my little Atmos suit, just in case they come across gases and stuff that might kill them. And I'm hoping I'll eventually just find the surface, and then I don't know what to do from there. That's probably when I'm supposed to start making all the stuff to get the hell out. But there's so much. I'm just now trying to get things automated, and I had to watch some tutorials on that too, because Jesus Christ, you guys, like they'd have an and gate or a not gate or a this gate, and I'm like, how am I supposed to, like, I'm reading the instructions and still it's not making sense how I'm supposed to hook this stuff up, you know?
Yeah.
It's too detailed. So I was like, hey dude, hey Mr. Magnet on YouTube, thank you, very detailed, I appreciate you. And I may not understand what I'm doing, but at least I'll know which thing does which. And that'll be good enough for me.
Sure.
Because I don't know if I'm going to understand how deep they got in it. But I think that was it this week. I think I did another round of 10 dates to try to see if I could listen to me, win a date. Yeah, that's how it is. But whatever, at the end where we're actually all happy in the shot about how we're, you know, happy together and whatnot. And I didn't. I'm still finding it kind of funny that I'm fine on all of the dude dates, but the chick dates, look, I guess I don't know what women want either.
Nah.
I'm saying the answers that I think would make sense, and then when they get all upset, I'm like, I don't know why that made you upset. I don't know what I said. But okay. But I failed all of the chick dates so far, and I think now I'm to the point where I've picked all the options that I'm probably just down to the correct ones.
Yeah.
I just found it funny. I looked at my hubs. I'm like, I don't know what we want either, man. Clearly, because I'm failing all of the chick dates. But the dude dates, nailed it. Nailed it. So, yeah, I guess I wouldn't be good dating women. I wouldn't make them happy. What have you been playing?
Well, tried a little bit more in the VR, which, by the way, I don't know if you caught this or not, but I got... Vaz came in with a response on YouTube. Boy, oh boy, did he post a wall of my
VR
comment.
guru.
Yeah, because he was trying to explain a lot and kind of put some things into perspective, like the one comment, and he broke all this down. So if you want to see the entire comment,
I'll have to go check.
It's on YouTube.
Checking our comments.
He broke it down with time codes, so exactly where we were talking about something, and then he explains it. It's like, for example, the small head issue that I mentioned. You know how everyone seems like it got small heads?
Yeah.
He said it could be a scaling thing. You know, there could be just some adjustments you can make in the settings, and that could give them, you know, the bigger or more
size.
Yeah, realistic size.
Yeah.
Because they always kind of seem just teeny tiny. Yeah, like I just kind of squeeze your head with my big fist.
Yeah.
So he said, you know, it can vary from game to game. Mentioned even where I said that the Star Wars game looked a lot sharper and cleaner than the Horizon game. And he said it could be from, you know, that's coming from Oculus Quest. It was kind of built for that. So they're using like increased resolution, super sampling, all this other stuff, where Horizon is pushing the console to its limits, and they're using that foveated rendering where it has to follow your eyes.
Sure.
Because I mentioned that.
Oh yeah,
and
built
then,
on different engines or for different systems. That makes sense.
So that could definitely be part of that. Mentioned walking, the locomotion to the teleportation kind of stuff, those options. What else?
I like the teleport.
The one thing that I was really happy he explained, because I remember seeing this in Horizon a lot, and I was trying to figure out like what it was, and I may have mentioned it, and I had to have, I think, is where you see kind of a black border around your eyes every now and again. And I just didn't understand what was kind of doing that. And he was saying that it's something like a vignette setting that is trying to reduce motion sickness. So it kind of shrinks your FOV to kind of help as you're moving and kind of limits your motion sickness. So he said it could be a setting that's done by default. It could be something you could turn off. So just check your settings. Didn't know that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. All right. So I was so happy to hear all these comments because it put a lot of things into perspective. Now I know what to look for. Now, because... yeah, I'm not, like you said, he's the VR guru. He knows everything about it.
Or at least as long as I've known him, you know, has always been into VR and pushing VR. And so if I ever had any questions, he was always the one. And he knew how to break it down in a way that I could understand, which was always nice. So I appreciate you, Vaz. You know how to talk to me and make it make sense.
For sure. And so
which is a huge feat in and of itself.
Yeah, he definitely helped me understand what I need to be looking for, what is happening. So if I happen to see these discrepancies or anything that seems out of place, now I know what I'm looking for. Now I know why it's happening. So I really appreciated that. Plus, he also mentioned he is also not a fan of flying with controllers. He'd rather have a controller in his hand, like a genuine controller to fly, versus trying to do it with your hands because, oh my God, that shit was insane.
Yeah. So. Well, you already heard my story of the time I tried to fly, and I just never went back into that nonsense. Yep. Nope. I had to hard shut it down, baby. I wouldn't put my head back in that.
Yeah. So that I really appreciated his comments, as always. So that helped. Another one, though, that I did play, and this was, I was kind of waiting on something to download, and I got a little impatient, and I realized, and this was in the bedroom PlayStation, I was trying to download something, and I was just kind of sitting there, and I don't have a lot downloaded on that console because I don't use it very often, and you're probably wondering why I have it. It's for reasons, goddamn.
You got more than one. I can't even buy one.
When my wife and I want to play a game together, that is how we do it.
That's fine. It's actually, I knew a lot of people that had double PS4s and stuff like that, like gaming couples or whatever. I think people just got pissy with the 5s because they were still wanting one.
Sure, I understand.
I don't think it's an uncommon thing to do with gaming couples.
But guess what? They're available now. So anyway,
I haven't looked in a while. God, I hope they are.
I've heard that they are. I heard they're not hard to find anymore. So that's just what I've heard. Anyway, the game that I played was The Messenger, which is the kind of 8-bit throwback, or I guess more 8 to 16-bit, somewhere in that. Side-scrolling platformer, very reminiscent of Ninja Gaiden from the NES days. I mean, I probably would have played it much, much longer had I not went back to the game that I was actually initially waiting for. But I was getting into it. I was like, oh, yeah, I could definitely get into this long term. Just for the small amount of time that I did play it. So I was really I'm excited to continue on to that. But the game did insult me before I quit, which feels very much in line with a Devolver published game.
Oh, okay.
I was doing really, really good playing the game. And then I went into an area and I was going too fast. My brain wasn't keeping up and I jumped straight into a hole and died. First time I died, right? And then it takes me back to a checkpoint, and then this little being pops up and is like, hey, is like, brought you back here, and your character's like, well, who are you? She's like, oh, no, I'm somebody who will help you along your journey should you have an accident, because clearly you're not that good. And I was like, well, fuck you.
Right. Like,
something to that effect that was just, insulting my gaming skills, and I was like, okay, well, kiss my ass. I thought I was doing very well. I just made a mistake.
It was the first time I died, man.
So that was about the time I turned it off. But no, I definitely want to play it more. I have been wanting to play it along with so many games in my library. There are games that, they...
Are you a gamer if you don't have a backlog hundreds of games long?
Yeah, you'd think so. All these people who complain that they finished a game within 2 days is like, but you probably spent all your time playing it. And some of us have lives. No offense, but...
some of us have to do other things.
Yeah.
Or they just need one of those, like an oxygen not included. You're just going to go forever, guys. Go forever.
I mean,
they're good until about 1,000 hours in.
You think that they're the audience for those one games that everybody are starting to hate? What do they call them? The live service games.
Oh yeah.
Where it's just we're gonna keep going forever until we can't anymore because no one's playing our game.
Right. Well, because we keep putting out new ones and killing the server on the other one. That.
You can't do that. If you want one thing to survive, you have to make it good. And then you have to continue to focus on it. That's how that works. Live, sir.
I mean, look at Fortnite. I mean, I may not like it, but I mean, they figured it out.
Yeah. And kudos.
I mean,
kudos to them.
They have new seasons all the time, new skins, new content. They're always get, so it's like if you're into that sort of thing, I mean, they kind of nailed the model.
And I can't imagine there being so many more of those type games. Because if everyone's playing Fortnite, then why would you go to another game like that?
Mix it up.
Maybe, but you have to change the way it's played for it to be different enough.
Imagine, like the COD ones that do that. I think they have those modes now or whatever, where it's battle royale. Maybe you're in the mood for something more realistic than the cartoony that you get out of Fortnite. I don't know. I've not really played any of them, so I can't really help with the net positives on those games, but.
And not to, I know we've knocked Fortnite on the show before, and I'm going to knock it again because I don't understand this. Now, look, when you put characters into a game, if it's like Spider-Man, Superman, or some other fictional superhero character, makes sense. Sure? Right? Makes sense. When I see Adonis Creed being added to Fortnite, that makes sense.
What?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yep.
Okay.
I was like,
well, I like Michael B. Jordan.
So do I.
Sure,
but
I guess.
what? How?
Yeah, I don't
Why?
know.
He's literally in boxing gear, and I'm like, I don't understand this. But
yeah, was he a bigger character than I realized?
Don't know.
Okay.
I'm so confused.
I mean,
but
good movies, I guess.
They are.
Yeah,
they are.
Maybe they're just running out of people to put in.
Yeah, I guess getting
they have
sponsors
been
wherever
putting
you
a
can.
lot. Yeah.
But
well, there is a new movie, right? He's supposed to be doing another Creed one, so maybe it's some cross promotion of some sort for kids to go see the movie.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I don't think we spoke about this because that was the week. I don't know. So, I saw the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie that everyone is bitching and complaining about because all Marvel movies are terrible now. Yeah. You know, I had fun with it. It made me think of, because I always have fun with these movies, it made me think of like an odd issue of a comic. Like you just happen to be walking in and you see Ant-Man fights Kang and you're like, huh, sure, I'll pick that up. And then you read it and it's a simple story. You're like, cool. And you put it down. That's how I felt about the movie. It was just like, it was another issue. Yeah, it was another issue of a Marvel comic. It introduced a character or reintroduced a character, depending on, I won't spoil things. But I was just like, okay, cool. And then I was about my way. Okay. But I will say, despite what anyone wants to shit on in that movie, Jonathan Majors, he's a force to be reckoned with. He is going to be the next big actor, if he's not already. Because, my God.
What's his name? Jonathan what?
Yeah, Jonathan Majors. He was the guy who was he was the lead in Lovecraft Country on HBO.
Oh, yes. I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I just couldn't remember his name. You know how I am with names. Ooh, yeah.
He's the rival in Creed 3.
Okay.
And he already looks like he's knocking that out of the park. I felt like he did a solid job in Ant-Man, and that's only a taste of what he's going to do later on, because his character in that movie is going to be the next big villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So we have only seen a fraction of what he's going to do. But again, I'm not just talking in Marvel terms. I'm talking about as actor as a whole. Yeah. Dude's going to blow up. Okay.
He's really good.
Yeah.
The few things that I've seen him in, and I'm sure he's done more, it's just when you start to recognize the face, you know.
But surprisingly, I went and looked through his filmography. It's like, what was he in prior to Lovecraft Country? And there wasn't much. Like anything that I'd heard of or anything, there wasn't much. So I was really surprised. So it was like, that was his breakout role. And then he's just...
I would say that's when I first remembered seeing him.
Yeah, definitely. But he's a star on the rise, and I can't wait to see what he does, because he's phenomenal.
He is good.
And I'm so glad that they nabbed him for such a crucial role so early on. And like I said, I don't think it'll be the Marvel movies that people will remember him for, but it's going to help get his star to shine brighter.
Sure. Yeah.
But I can't wait to see what he does. Yeah, because
recognition.
I think he's where they like to say I don't even know what I'm trying to say about him. I'm going to pray. I've said all I can. I praise the man. I can't wait to see what he's going to do.
Yeah, I was sad Lovecraft Country got canceled for season 2 because I think it would have.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked the first season. I enjoyed all of the actors in that. Honestly, I thought they all did a really great job. I mean, unless you were just kind of over the Lovecraft thing, but that's just always going to be the case because everyone likes to make stories based on Lovecraft. So, yeah,
no, it was a solid show, and I was disappointed as well. But it did kind of end in a sense that you could be like, yeah, okay. It didn't leave anything dangling where you're like, oh man, what about this? What about that?
I wasn't sure if they were going to continue with the same people anyway.
Sure.
To be fair. So who knows? But still sad. It was a good show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I went off on a tangent there as usual, but
as we do.
What do you got in the way of news?
We have a little bit to chat about this week for sure. Let's see. We got a lot of different. Good amount of things out of Ubisoft. We can take it good or bad at this point. Yeah. I know we've chatted about how Ubisoft announced plans for the Assassin's Creed franchise. I believe late last year they kind of announced this whole lineup of different spin-offs or stories that was going to be coming. So I think that was 6 games that they were talking about. One of them being a multiplayer and one being a VR title. So 4 plus those 2. So the VR title, Nexus, Project Nexus, what we're calling it right now. We might see it at E3 this year. That seems to be the murmurings. That's when it'll get shown off. So, hey, we'll still have something to see at E3 this year.
I guess.
And so, which is funny to me because I was already reading articles about them talking about Project Nexus 2. And it's like, whoa, Ubisoft, put out one game first.
Yeah, please.
Remember releasing games? Remember that? And so just get the one out the door. But they added in the 3 titles. So we got the working titles Nebula, Raid, and Echoes. And they each have a different studio that'll be developing each of the games. So I would imagine you'd have different feels and styles, hopefully, to each one.
Yeah.
So Ubisoft Sofia, for example, developed Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation and Rogue. They're the ones who pitched Nebula to have 3 different settings in just that game. So they were talking India, Aztec Empire, and the Mediterranean, which could be interesting to have more than one setting, possibly. And then the other developing team that's pitching Raid, which I don't think we'd be interested in, looks like a free-to-play 4-player co-op. But it is PvE. So, I mean, at least there's that. I'm just not a huge fan of PvP personally myself. So, and it's believed to involve characters from the Assassin's Creed universe. They have a universe.
Obviously.
Because, I mean, they have a lot of games. A lot of people. And then the other team, Ubisoft Annecy, who was involved in Division 2, and Splinter Cell, is pitching another multiplayer using Ubisoft Scalar, which is their engine. I don't know. With all this, they're going back to this annual release schedule. At least it sounds like they're supposed to be varied and they'll mix it up. One was even toting about different play styles and stuff, which I would welcome in that game. Different mechanics, different play styles. Mix it up somehow. So maybe it could be kind of exciting with 3 different teams, kind of. Probably more, but I mean the multiplayer ones for me, and Assassin's Creed was already kind of for me, but I know you like a lot of the titles, so I was kind of interested to hear if you would be excited to hear that there's different styles hopefully of the game coming.
Well, it kind of boils down to I guess what my love for the game is, because I never think about it, and every time I hear another one I'm just like another one. But then when I play it, I'm into it.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to get to that point, and I don't know why I sigh so heavily when I think about these games. I guess because I know that they are the same thing.
The formula is the same.
And again and again.
Yeah.
But I always find myself drawn into them. Like the Viking Valhalla, I thought, well, that's new enough. That's something different that we haven't seen. But then the longer you play, it's just like, well, but it is Assassin's Creed. So,
yeah.
it's
still diving into hay bales and Okay.
So, but I mean, they added a few interesting, like having your base camp and whatnot. I thought that was kind of nice to have a little hub that you go back to and a little village. So that was something new, kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't now. Granted, I say that I don't know if they did that in Origins or Odyssey, which I do have. I just have not played them, and I understand that was the third entry in that particular trilogy, as it were.
Trying to remember which was coming out first.
And like you said, the locales, you're mixing it up where you go. That's interesting. If you're you're doing something different where, the going back to the what was it? God damn it, Greece
Sorry. Oh,
in
yes.
Odyssey. You went there, and then there was Egypt in Origins. That seems fascinating enough.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll get there, I guess.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll just mix it up.
Yeah,
a
and like you
bit,
said, mixing up the play styles. I don't know what you do to mix it up. Because they did make those. What was it, like the 2.5D side scroller?
Oh, like some
China, Russia, and something else.
Oh my God, I'd have to look up a full list.
Yeah, but
because there's been so many at this point.
But it was something different in a manner of speaking. So, are you talking about like that being different? Or are you talking about like?
I was hoping that they were actually going to be varying up some play styles or different mechanics in it, because I felt like it was kind of the same ones each time.
Oh, yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
you have to press different buttons or a different power up or whatever, but out of what I've seen, it always seemed like the same core mechanics applied with how you fought, with how you dodged, with, hiding.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Diving from large things. So it just seemed like they mixed up the setting. Maybe an engine or something, graphics might have improved from when they first started coming out, but I think that's what I was looking for, was something more unique in its game style or in its gameplay that might want to make me come back to try it again, where I'm not feeling like I'm just playing the same game in a different setting. That's what I was hoping
Yeah,
for.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, it would be nice if they would. Do I have faith that they will?
I don't know. So I guess if you liked Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation and Rogue, then you might like the one that they're pitching with the 3 different settings, since the other 2 was multiplayer. But who knows? You might like the PvE one with some friends, But if you like PvP, then maybe that's not it. Then maybe just wait for the other one.
Yeah, I guess.
Assassin's Creed in all the ways. In all the ways you want to play them. Online, not online.
Like, I wouldn't mind playing a 2-player co-op Assassin's Creed. It could be kind of fun, but I understand that they never think about the way those games play together. They always change the mechanics. I want a 2-player game co-op online that you can play through the story together, like Monster Hunter,
like A Way Out,
or A Way
It
Out.
Takes Two. Yeah.
Takes Two. There was even, what was that one game? Come on, Dying Light, the original Dying Light. You could do that online and play the story together. Now, granted, you had to, whoever was farther, I guess, into the story, like one person would initiate the story and then you'd both kind of go on it together, something like that. But no, stuff like that. That's how I want to do multiplayer. I don't want some off-kilter bullshit where it's just like, well, it's not the base game, but you can play your friends over. I don't want that. I want to play the base game with my friends.
No, and I think once I played A Way Out or It Takes Two, it was a more fun way to play multiplayer than I had it before. Because even back in the day, you were splitting a screen, and I think maybe Resident Evil 6 kind of had something like that, but where you got to play the story together. I didn't get to finish it because I do remember, I think it was 5 or 6 that I played with a buddy at his house for a little bit that kind of went that way, but it was still split screen.
Yeah.
So which I imagine, I think A Way Out was also, but It Takes Two wasn't as bad. Like, it was split screen, but like, I don't know. Yeah. But you're both cooperating on the same storyline.
Yeah.
Like, I needed you to go do that thing while I go do the other thing. Like, they made the point for each character.
Yeah.
They were needed.
And that's, I think that's why I really enjoyed playing Monster Hunter with Katrina so much is because it was, okay, well, we've got a hunt to do. What do you want to do? And then we pick one and we go. Now, granted, I know that doesn't play necessarily the same as something like It Takes Two or A Way Out. But again, there was this cooperation. So we would do the same thing together. We were playing in the same space together. No Man's Sky.
I like cooperative play.
Yeah, I wouldn't even consider that cooperative in a sense. Like, we're kind of in the same areas. We can help one another.
Oh, for No Man's Sky.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily feel like what I'm doing affects what she's doing and vice versa. So there's not really any kind of core multiplayer.
You know, do you remember a game, I think it was called Kane and Lynch?
That does sound familiar.
I feel like that, like the game itself was kind of meh, but I want to say that was one of the first times I personally had played a co-op game that kind of did that, where it split off, where your character had one mission to do and then the other character had the other one to do. And you still played together and that was the first time personally I had seen it and thought it was so cool. I almost wanted to play the second one just because of that, but I didn't really like the game itself was kind of meh. I didn't care for the story as much. But, so I really enjoyed that kind of game style to the point where I almost just wanted to play the second one because, with the hubs, because I didn't see them as much.
I don't know.
Well,
I think it would be ideal. Like, you have a game, if you say it's single player, but think about all the times you're stuck with some NPC and you have to walk with their ass to the location. It's like, I don't want to hear your conversation. I just want to get to the location so we can get this over with. You're not just let's go. Let's go. And they just stroll their ass along. Why can't I just have a 2-player? We both run up there together, take care of it, boom, done.
Time filler.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like that's all it is. Padding run times. Padding.
I genuinely believe you could turn a lot of these single-player games into multiplayer games, co-op, where you can play with someone else online, and you do the same missions together, and you just play the game together.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
But what do I know?
We'll see. Well, if you are a fan of Assassin's Creed, it's about to be a really good few years for you. That's all I got to say. There's a lot of them coming down the pike. But staying with Ubisoft a little bit here, and I know it's kind of pointless to even talk about this game anymore, but Beyond Good and Evil 2 continues its curse. As this week, the dev team lost its managing director, Guillaume Carmona. Yeah,
sure.
That's probably how you say that. Who apparently hasn't even been to work this year at all and just announced wouldn't be coming back. So I don't know if we really needed to know up until now that they weren't coming back if they hadn't been at work in 2023 at all. So no reason was cited that I can tell, and is under legal privacy. With it being Ubisoft, my brain unfortunately goes to the bad place. But I don't know for a fact. So, yeah, it's just, I'm sorry. My mind's like, oh, you don't want to say, and it's Ubisoft? Oof, that could be really garbage. I don't know. Which, come to find out, is on the heels of an investigation into the company by the local government in France for violating labor laws. So, where the devs were reporting burnout, having to take sick leave just to get a break. And the game isn't even technically in full production. So, I wonder why they're even bothering to put it in the news any longer. It's been over a decade, right? Like, since...
I feel like longer, yeah.
Can we just let these devs move on?
Please.
So they can create something people will see?
Yeah.
Instead of getting abused for what?
Exactly. They don't even know
for what? Like, what's happening?
They don't even know what the game is anymore. It has changed so much over however long it's been.
It's like it's been started over, right? Like 3 times, 4 times?
It's like,
I don't know.
One minute you see this piece of artwork and be like, well, here's Beyond Good and Evil 2. Look what it's going to be about. And you're like, oh, okay, I remember those characters. And then they show you more art or video or whatever the fuck they've come up with. And I don't know who these characters are. I don't know what you're even talking about. This looks nothing like the game that I played previously back in 2000, whenever the fuck.
Right?
And I don't...
It's been 84 years.
I don't know what this is. So... I honestly feel like they literally either have to reinvent this entire thing, or you're going to have to re-release, which I would honestly prefer at this point, remaster and re-release the original to revitalize interest in this series, because no one remembers it.
And these poor people, like, Why? Why? I mean, I know you need a job and you're going to stick with what you need to get to, but dear Lord, can you give them a different project? I don't know. I just feel like give them something they can like release. I don't know. But I mean, between all of that and then hearing about this investigation into it, it just seems like it's a bad time that needs to stop. But supposedly well-being checks are ongoing for the team who's been burdened with this development cycle for so long. And it isn't sounding like it's working out. But with the managing director gone and the way that it's been going, and I mean, that managing director was with the company, they said 20 years and left the Paris office in 2019 to become head of the studio. Mm-hmm. And that was the one who created Rayman. So Carmona isn't commenting at this time, but there's been plenty of reports of even devs going out for extended periods for stress and illness, and includes some of the leads of these teams. So I don't know. It just may be time to pack it in. It sounds like if you're just abusing these people, no game seems to be getting actually developed. And it's been so long.
Yeah.
That I feel like at this point, I wouldn't even want it if this is how it's getting developed.
Sure.
But you know how I feel about treating people like garbage over a game. I've got plenty of things to play. Like, just take your time and give them regular work weeks. But then we'll follow up with the team that actually does that. So sadly, it's on the heels of another delay. But The Wolf Among Us 2 is now delayed, not happening in 2023 as originally thought. Telltale delayed but they said there's no good date that they're aiming for right now, that they're just like, when it's ready, it'll be done. And thankfully, as I was reading, the reason behind a lot of the delay was that they didn't want to do any kind of crunch with the team. So thank you for that. They were like, it would have had to have been major crunch to get it out this year. And they were like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to mistreat our peeps. And the CEO, Jamie Ottley, went on to say that planning a business around crunch isn't a possible and viable solution and wants to maintain a healthy work culture. Jamie.
Yeah.
Isn't it sad we have to do this? But Jamie, burning people out and grinding them doesn't produce great results. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine some CEO figured that out. So I don't know why this is so hard for other CEOs to grasp, but or care, I guess, actually would be the optimal word there. Yeah. They don't care for the most part. So at this time, Jamie says it'll be out when it's ready, and I'm okay with that.
Same.
Treat your people well. Make the game. Mm-hmm. We'll be here waiting for it. It's fine, in my opinion. So I just wanted to follow that up with the company that is taking care of their people, or at least reportedly. Anyway, so we'll see. I know it's sad that I have to be a little bit.
You would hope after the old.
After what happened.
Yeah. That they wouldn't follow in those footsteps.
God, I hope not. But it sounds like it's going well, and I hope that he does continue, or they. I don't know. Jamie, that could go either way for the name, so I don't know, but we'll see. So Resident Evil 4 though, I wanted to chat a little bit more about that remake, because we got a little bit more of a look at that this week, and if you're the type that doesn't want any more spoilers for it, I guess maybe skip a little bit. I don't know. I know some people, you want to
it's an old game,
get your hands on it. But looks like that they're adding a good amount of stuff to it as well. Mm-hmm. And obviously, I think the graphics and everything are already looking really good. I mean, I didn't really have any concerns with that. But they did do some updates to the gameplay mechanics. And sounds like they added to what was already existing in the game. So like parrying was one of the examples with knife combat. In the original version, Leon would use this as kind of your last resort, your last ditch effort to not die, which made you always want that as a necessary tool, of course. But parrying attacks now transform the knife from the last resort option to now you can use it to open crates, or an actual defensive tool to keep you alive longer, or as you still have some dexterity, with using all of that. So it gave it a little bit more of a use other than having to be on your last ditch effort to use the knife. They added some finishing moves, which seemed interesting. You could use the knives as a finishing attack when the enemies are downed. In the video that we saw, Leon went over to the downed zombie and slit its throat, which I had to be like, but don't you still got to stab its head?
Yeah, don't you think that would...
like stab its temple. I don't know. This is your lore, I guess, for this one. But I thought we were still aiming for the head.
But I guess technically they aren't zombies per se.
Yeah, true. Well, that's a finishing move now that we didn't have before. And they did add some side quests that are optional. So a little bigger of a game than the first one. Sprinkled throughout, there are some optional side quests. Just put that out there. You don't have to do them. That Leon can complete with blue parchments that you'll find. So in the one we saw, Leon pick up the blue paper, asked him to get a rare gold chicken egg, and then rewarded with 3 spinels that could be sold later for cash. So like little things like that. So it doesn't sound like you have to do them. We got some customization options, a little bit more than before. So like the case that you would carry, you can now customize it with colors and charms if that's something that you like to do. But the biggest one for me was revamping freaking Ashley.
Yeah.
And oh my God. If this is actually going to be what they're saying, then thank fucking Christ. That's all I'm going to say. So as most of you are aware, you have to constantly save this woman over and over and over most of the time when you want to just leave her because, stop doing that and come over here. Why? So thankfully it's not the entire game, but once you meet up with her, you're like, Jesus Christ, this is how it's going to be, right? So she actually has new abilities, being able to unlock doors, like something useful. And Leon can direct her to stay close behind him or hang back a bit while you get shit done. And I hope she listens.
Yeah, that's the key thing. Listen to me.
Like, she would just stand there with all of them coming after her and not move. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get past this sequence if you don't just freaking move. Okay. So just thank the baby Yogg. We're doing this. Okay. So her dress changed a little too, if that's something that people care about. But I did like the fact that the team admitted that the area of the world they were in would be really cold that time of year. So she was a bit underdressed for it. I mean, I think she still had on the sweater, but so she gets a coat.
Yeah. She doesn't need a skirt.
No. Yeah.
Do you remember that bit that they threw in there? With her and her skirt, like if she happened to be above you and you tried to pivot the camera, she'd be like, "Stop it, you perv."
Yeah, it's like you could be below me. That would be fine.
Yeah.
I don't need you going first.
Exactly.
I don't care. But in 2023, women get clothes.
Woo!
Yay!
Yay.
But if they made her a more convincing character, I approve. That's all, However, I think those that didn't play the original may be missing out on some memes. You might. It's a little fun having that in your repertoire. Having to deal with her, but you can still play it if you want. So apparently she will even help herself a bit from being captured, which is, instead of, just hanging out by the hordes and literally doing nothing, but standing there. Yeah. An article mentions that she actually tried to find cover when Leon ordered it. I want to see this.
Yeah.
So someone
for sure.
said we may even get to control Ashley at some point. Which is all I ever wanted to do in the first one. Then was like, can I just take it over? Well, wasn't there one maybe?
Yeah,
we're like crawling through somewhere small.
That's what I remembered. I remember there being some small portion of the game where you did have to control her ever so briefly.
Yeah, because she's like tiny or something. Anyway, so we'll see how it maybe that'll still be broken. But my God, if she actually makes sense as a character, and then I'll just be happy. Because me, it was just so frustrating. Like, why?
Yeah.
No human would do that if you're running from them. Just like sitting there like a jerk waiting for me to tell you to move. Like, get out of the way.
Please.
Like, you don't need me to tell you to run from the hordes of people. Anyway, March 24th it comes out. So we'll all get to see. I'm actually kind of excited for this one. I might actually pick her up a little later on down the road. I wait for sales these days. But I could see me wanting to pick this one up just to see how much nicer they made it. Because I did enjoy the original version. But yeah, there was some parts that I wish we would have fixed.
I would say Resident Evil 2 and 4 were probably the ones that I played the most. And I would almost be fairly confident I played 4 the most.
Yeah.
Just because once you got through it and you can go back through and get that Tommy gun for like 1,000 coins or whatever the currency was, and then you could just unload, that just made it fun. I was like, I've got a Tommy gun. I'm going to fuck y'all up. And it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. No bullets, infinite ammo. I was just plowing through just for the hell of it. And that's what I enjoy. If you're going to do a new game plus, give me that option.
Yeah, that's all I want now at this point because I've already beaten it. Now I just want to go ham.
Yeah, please.
Let
me have
that's
fun
what
with
you
it.
Do. heck, even in Mafia, it's like, let me, it just saved, right? I'm going to throw all of my grenades and piss off all of the things and see how many people I can down before it's just over.
Exactly.
Like, you just need that cathartic moment from time to time. All right, let's see here. PS5 showcase looks like it's amping up to be pretty decent here. I think we kind of knew this was amping up to be big because we were hearing all of this different stuff that's going to get announced. But it seems we'll finally have one happening close to E3 time, as they all like to plan it about that same time, but not participate in E3.
Sure.
But it's been a bit since we've had a full-on showcase from PlayStation. I know we've had State of Plays, but like a full-on showcase from stuff, I feel like it's been well over a year now.
It's been a while, yeah.
Ish. So we've heard about the detachable or attachable disc drive, the wireless earbuds, the PSVR 2. So we may have another really big one coming up this year. I don't know. Was there anything you were looking forward to that you think Sony might be announcing? Because I feel like we have a lot of hardware.
Yeah, the hardware for sure. I'm curious to see if they're going to squash any rumors, because that detachable keeps coming up. And I'm curious about those earbuds. I really want those. The more I think about it, the more I hear about it. If they're as good as they can be, which I know they can be,
right? Then
that's what I want.
It'll be great. Yeah.
To hell with plugging that shit. No, I'm not doing that anymore. I want legit buds.
I still legit am beside myself that I need to plug in the controller for updates. Like, we've had Wi-Fi for a really long time.
Well, again,
like a pretty long time.
Yeah, no, but again, they're working on that. They're in that beta program right now. As far as I know, from what I've played around with the beta on my one PlayStation, it seems to be doing okay. They do give me those little screens of like, hey, you're in beta, just so you're aware.
Okay.
So if something should happen,
that's on you.
Yeah.
You tried the beta.
It's like, yeah, but you made, well, they didn't make me. But they made it so enticing.
True.
They made me feel important.
Well, I guess I feel like, why didn't it come with it?
I know, right? I mean, the fact that it's there now in this beta program is like,
PlayStation 4.
You didn't think about this beforehand? You know?
I don't know. Does Xbox have it? Now I need to know. Series Xers out there. Can you wirelessly update your controller? I'm actually curious. I know I could look it up, but I'd rather you tell me.
Yeah. We want to see the engagement. I know how many followers we have on Spotify.
Got it. And I know that I've never been an Xbox person for no other reason than I've always played PC, and the hubs has always been into Sony. So any game that came out on Xbox, for the most part, I was able to get on PC. So I just never had a need for it. Never that I thought the console was garbage or anything. I'm sure it plays just like any of the others, if I'm honest. I can't see. But yeah, so I mean, at least we're finally going to have a showcase coming up later this year. So I'm excited to see if there's anything new that we haven't seen leaked, or if stuff that we saw leaked is in fact just a bunch of BS, and if something else will happen. So I don't know. I think it'll be fun to see, since they've got some really cool things that seems like it's coming down the pipeline. But looks like last little thing I have here that I wanted to mention, if you have, I thought you might be excited about this. If you have the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack DLC, I don't know what it's called. Okay, there's lots of them in the tier, and the name is ridiculously long, or Direct Plus, I don't know. But I thought you might have liked the news about Metroid Fusion came to that service.
I did.
Or will be on 3/9, March 9th. So I don't remember. Did you get the service or no?
Funny enough, I actually had to re-up it because I had subscribed to it out of curiosity last year when they added the extra tier. And like, I wasn't thrilled about it because of the price point, because I still feel like that is outrageous compared to what we're seeing out of Sony and
Game Pass, even
Game Pass, Xbox, and all that. So, but to be fair, looking at the price point now, seeing Sony's premium and extra tiers, I'm like, all right, well, Nintendo's doing the same for these older games, so I can't complain that much about it. Yeah. Plus, which I didn't even realize this. Like, I guess it kind of went over my head, and the longer I thought about it, I was like, no, I have heard about this. I just don't think about it. Is that having that expansion pack, they have packs that they release on other games like Mario Kart. And Katrina was playing Mario Kart one day, and she's like, I got all these new courses and these new things, and I don't even know where it came from. And I was like, and then I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, the expansion packs that come on the games. That's what that's from.
Yeah.
So because we already have that, they automatically upload to the game, and they're available to play. So she's been playing more and more Mario Kart because new things keep adding.
You got it. Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah.
So where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So yes, I did get that, and apparently my card was declined because it was an old card that has
expired.
Yes, and I was like, oh shit. So I had to go and fix that. Trying to get onto the service was a task for some reason, because every time I went on it, it was like something went wrong, something's not available, and I was like, I just want to re-up the shit.
I just want to update it. Come on, man.
But I did. I finally got it back, so there it is. And yeah, I mean, Metroid Fusion,
Game
feel
Boy?
like maybe the 3DS or something, one of those.
Yeah.
I think I played it there, but I would
I feel like it was Game Boy something.
Yeah, I would love to play it on the regular TV, because it has a very Super Metroid-esque feel, which is my all-time favorite or Metroid game. I was going to say Zelda for some reason. I still want to play GoldenEye. I don't know if that's actually hit the service yet. If it has, then that's on me for not going and looking. But yeah, no, I want to play some of the Game Boy games that they added and stuff like that. So I'm in for it just for the sake of nostalgia. And Eric, I feel like I know you're listening. I feel like I have a right to vote. We had a conversation on Discord.
What did I miss?
Where they were looking for new games for their Super Switch Club podcast, which I recommend anybody who's into video games go over there and check that out.
Yeah.
Definitely one of those adjacent podcasts that kind of do the Podcasters Assemble thing, but with video games, which, we should be more involved, but I just trying to find the time. That's why I've kind of not done that yet. And they were looking to vote on their next game, looking through that service. And I had a few choices, and I just asked, I said, what kind of game do you want? And then Eric was just like, well, you got to submit before you can vote. And I was like, that is bullshit.
What do you mean submit? Like
I should
submit your piece with it?
I need to participate in Super Switch Club, and then I can have a say in the vote.
Okay. Well, that's kind of fair.
That's fair. I know. Yeah. I'm trying to find the time to work all this stuff in. Like, I still haven't even written my piece for the Indiana Jones Podcasters Assemble, even though I've been waiting to work. Like, I've had it ready to go, to get ready to start. And I think I even wrote a line to start it. And the next thing I know, I just got pulled away, and I've been pulled away in all these other directions that I've not come back to it to focus on it. So
I'm the worst. I just don't remember anything. I've got to set myself reminders and timers to be like, hey, remember you want to do adult today? Oh, yeah.
Well, it's the same with my Japanese lessons. I need to do that because I'll get all these little push reminders and be like, hey, you want to learn today? It'll only take 10 minutes. And I was like, yeah, hang on. And then I'll focus on what I'm doing.
20 minutes.
Yeah. And then before I know it, the entire day's gone. I was like, well, shit. So I've forgotten to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes.
I feel you.
I do have this thing, and I am looking forward to Metroid Fusion. Hopefully
I'll go peek around a little bit more on it.
Yeah, no, I think there's some interesting stuff on there, and I need to try it out more. I forget about it, and
I haven't played my Switch in a while, unfortunately. I need to kick her back on just to see how she's doing. But, yeah, this poor thing's been collecting dust. And every once in a while it goes on our trips with us so we can, watch TV in the hotels. And, if I remember the frickin' base, I always forget the base. And then I'm like, well, didn't do me any good then for what we brought it for, did it? 'Cause I always forget you need the base for the TV.
Certainly.
I'm just like, I'll just plug it in with the USB. It'll be fine. No, it's not. No, it's not fine. Lace, remember things. That was all I found interesting that I wanted to chat with you about this week. What have you got for us? I know sometimes I miss things that you want to talk about.
Well, I don't think there was anything that you didn't touch on this week. Not that I could Nothing that was just sticking in my head like, oh my
Yeah,
God, we have to
same.
talk about this.
And then I'll remember as we finish.
Hmm.
I'll be like, oh yeah. But I usually got to make myself notes
Well,
for that reason.
I have a story.
Oh, I love story time.
Yep. And I've been trying to figure out what stories I want to tell, and this one kind of came up at random. Like I had watched an episode of American Dad. Seems
Okay.
like the most random thing ever. And they did an episode kind of use this game as a concept, and I thought, I've never looked into that. So I did some digging. And shout out to Jimmy Marr, who I've shouted out on the show before, Digital Antiquarian, whose link will be down below. Obviously, this is the man I go to when I want a history lesson about stuff. Now, granted, I have condensed a lot of what I found from him and a lot of other stuff to try and make this palatable because he had 5 different parts to this story. And I thought, well, I don't need all that, but I appreciate it. So
Yeah.
if you want the unabridged version, go over there.
Unrated version.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
you can listen to his story. But I've made it a little bit more palatable and put in my own little flares, as I usually do. So, if it wasn't evident to our audience before now, I would like to reiterate that I am considered old by the youth of today.
Oh no.
How many times has it been brought to my attention that I am old, if not older, than the things I grew up enjoying as they reached their 30th, 35th, and even 40th anniversaries? Yeah. However, as I say this, I did glean a little joy the other day when my oldest daughter had the realization that the things she grew up with were also hitting big number anniversaries. And I did what any good parent would do. I rubbed it in. Now, we're not here to talk about how old I am or how old Lace is, because I'm sure we've talked about it here ad nauseum. And if you need specific numbers, I can't imagine we've said it on the show. And if you want to go find it,
I like to keep them guessing.
yeah, go scour
even
the
though I
internet.
age myself by the things I say.
All I can tell you to do is you're going to have to do the digging. I'm not going to give it to you. You have to earn it. You have to work for it.
I'm not going to encourage anyone to do a deep dive into me. So I'm sorry.
There you go.
So no.
Anyway, today I want to talk about a little gem from my childhood, and I'm pretty sure your childhood as well, that I would bet 99% of kids from our era played at some point or another. And some may be wondering, how could that be possible? Not every kid had a Nintendo or an Atari or a Sega Master System or TurboGrafx or an Intellivision or a ColecoVision. Well, that was the beauty of this game. Okay? Because while your parents would tell you to get off that damn game and while you're at home, at school, sometimes you had an opportunity to play video games. Albeit with a caveat of learning.
Sure.
And while I'm fond of several that I played at school, one of which being Number Munchers, I still love that game. I don't know why I love that game. I loved it so
strategy
much.
puzzle games, just so you get into them, man.
Which
The
they
increasing harder, and then
they've renamed it, by the way, which is weird. They call it Math Munchers now. It's no longer.
Was there
Number
something wrong with numbers?
Eh,
Maybe it's something to do with that newfangled math they're teaching people these days. I already
Perhaps.
forgot what it's called.
Anyway,
Removed from kids in school.
the one that most people talk about would be the Oregon Trail.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Or first thing that came to my mind.
It has transcended the memories of Gen Xers, Zennials, and even some early Millennials, I would almost bet, to become a very memeable
Wait,
property.
which order do you think they go in? I think it's X, Millennials, Millennial.
Gen Xers,
Yeah.
Zennials.
Zennial?
Yeah, Zennials is in between a Millennials and Gen Xers.
That's bullshit, and you just made that up.
Nope,
I've never heard of it
nope,
before.
nope,
It goes Gen
nope.
X, Millennial, the rest of you.
Now, I've been told that I'm a Zennial. I fall into that category of this small little percentage of kids who grew up in an age where technology was a thing, but it also wasn't a thing. weird. I know. I
don't accept this.
I'm just being accurate.
Quit adding in different, whatever. Okay, sorry.
Whatever happened to Generation Y?
Well, I think Y was actually always the placeholder until, because I used to make that argument a lot growing up when everyone was like, "You're now millennial," and I'm like, "I was always this, and then I was X, and then I was Y," and then they were like, "Yeah, Y always is the case," and I'm like, "Okay." Well,
I mean, I think I'm trying not to give away your age.
I think it's pretty obvious.
I feel like you
We're
do
only a couple years apart.
I feel like you do fall into the millennial category based on this information that I learned about Zennials. Because I fall into the Zennial category because, like I said, it's this little small carving between Gen X and millennials. That they said, nope, this is Zennials right here. And I fall into that category.
I don't know.
Don't know why. I don't give a damn. Anyway.
I'm just old.
Yes. But
so then what's the new people? I thought they were Zennials.
I thought they were Gen Z or some shit.
Okay, sorry. This isn't the topic of conversation.
It is not.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway.
Don't accept that.
Oregon Trail has become a staple in pop culture, believe it or not. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we get to that point, how we got there, we have to understand how we got there. And to do that, we must first travel back to the magical decade of the 1970s. Yes, the 70s, a time when drug use was expected. And while we are 100% certain that drugs were partially responsible for this game's creation, the probability is certainly high. Yes, take that as you will. Anyway, in 1971, Paul Dillenberg, Don Roswich, looks right, and Billy Heineman were attending Carleton College in Northfield, Minnesota. The three roommates were enrolled in a student teaching program that allowed them to teach classes, with Paul and Billy teaching math and Donnie teaching 8th grade history. Now, during one of his classes, Don came up with the idea of creating a board game about the trails of the Oregon Trail. He thought it would be a great tool to help teach a lot about this moment in history to his class, and thought this would be great. It would be fun. It would be learning. Why not?
Yeah.
Learn some of the hard lessons of history and have fun doing it, as much as you can have fun with the prospect of dying. Anyway.
With all the dysentery.
So Don went back to his roommates and he shared the idea, and they thought, yes, this is a great idea. However, Paul saw potential for it to be a computer game, because computers at this time were starting to become a little bit more, not widely available, but the prospect of computer learning programs and things like that were starting to grow a little bit. And he thought, but he's like, we could write a code and we could program it into a timeshare basic. Now, this system was a programming language interpreter developed by Hewlett-Packard that is historically notable for being the platform used in the 1971 text-based strategy game Star Trek. So, utilizing some notes that he had about the gameplay idea, and then structuring that into a code, Don programmed his idea into a game, which he then presented to his 8th grade history class. The game was a huge success, obviously.
Right.
So from that led the program, or the computer, or whatever he had it on, they passed it around to additional schools in the district for the rest of the semester for other kids to have the opportunity to try it. However, when Don decided to leave the school, or the school district, in 1972, he deleted the program from the system, and he took the code with him. Now, in another reality in the multiverse, kids grew up never playing or even knowing about this game, the Oregon Trail. Only a few would know its secrets. But this is not that reality. Because you see, in 1973, the Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium, which I think they've changed it to corporation, or did later on, but we'll just, consortium sounds so great now.
It really does.
Or MECC for short, that may look familiar or sound familiar if you're thinking about it. You may not have known it as the Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium, but you may have seen MECC printed on several floppy disks back in the day.
Probably.
They were founded, or this consortium was founded by the Minnesota State Legislature. The purpose of this organization was to search for and implement new computer applications for educational use. Now, in 1974, Don was approached by MECC to be the liaison between the organization and a selection of community colleges, to which he accepted. He was also encouraged to help develop any new applications he may think that would be beneficial to the program. And as luck would have it, he remembered this one thing that he did a few years back. He hadn't forgotten about the Oregon Trail. Luckily, the computer he had access to used a version of BASIC, so he spent an entire Thanksgiving weekend of that year reprogramming his game back into existence. He made a few modifications to the program that were a little better suited for the hardware, made some additional enhancements that made the game a little bit more historically accurate, more consistent, and overall, just more fun. So the MECC was ecstatic about Don's contributions, and they sent it to numerous schools across the state where it was played for years to come. The end. Okay, there's more.
I was going to say, come on.
Obviously, it spread beyond the state of Minnesota, but how? This wasn't a game being sold on an Atari or a Magnavox Odyssey that everybody had. And it was an educational game. Yuck. Who wants to play that? Not me.
No.
Education. So what happened? Well, there used to be a time when people weren't so damn selfish and greedy. You know? They weren't as openly...
Okay, I'll believe that.
The MECC saw the benefits that their program and the new developing applications were making, and they wanted to share them with other school systems across the country. So, through generous funding and support, the MECC has such a mouthful. I don't know why it's MEC. They made it their mission to put a computer in every classroom around the country and perform studies to see the benefits provided, not just for the students, but for the teachers as well.
Yeah, they need a break.
Sure. Now, in 1978, MECC chose the Apple II to be the de facto computer in every classroom, and they helped provide access to purchase one through MECC at cost. Now, with this hardware being different and vastly superior to the HP 2100, previous programs like Oregon Trail were then updated to the Apple II and given additional flourishes like graphical capabilities to see the action that you were just previously reading about. Now we get to see the wagon. We get to see the oxen. We get to see all this stuff.
Even a river.
Over time, MECC had enough software that they began to provide packages to school systems. So if they wanted Oregon Trail along with Number Munchers and whatever other, they could buy this whole big learning package and say, there you go. And it's for your kids. It's for your classroom, and you use it however you will. I don't remember how my teacher used it. I do remember getting to play it, but I don't remember
I didn't get to.
Yeah, I feel like maybe assignments or you had to earn it. I don't remember. I really don't.
Well, I went to a dumb school, so we didn't have it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I got to play it at my own home. But yes.
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Now, the update to Oregon Trail on the Apple II improved the game's quality of life so dramatically that its popularity soared in the 1980s, leading to it being onto other platforms like Atari and the Commodore 64 and the Radio Shack TRS-80, which I had. And I found this out while I was doing research. The Radio Shack TRS-80 was actually one of the computers they were considering to be the computer for the classrooms.
Oh, yeah?
But no, the Apple II had to come and fuck it all up. No, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, they...
No, it was the superior computer. I understand. In 1985, game developer R. Philip Brouchard, who actually created the aforementioned number munchers, developed a newer version of the game which more accurately reflected the real Oregon Trail, incorporating notable geographic landmarks as well as human non-player characters with whom the player could interact with. Now, perhaps you are the listener right now and you're saying to yourself, whoa. What do you mean the real Oregon Trail? Well, in case you didn't learn it in school, which you should have, but I don't know how bad your school system is. We just found out Lace didn't even have this in school.
No. Well, I mean, were they able to teach me about God through it?
Yeah, I mean, they could have been. We don't know. There were those game developers out there, I'm sure.
It's true.
Bible verses for the masses.
Right.
Forgive that loud, obnoxious vehicle driving by that's throwing me off. The Oregon Trail was a 2,000-mile wagon route laid by fur traders in the early 1800s that stretched from Missouri to Oregon. You see how that all just, yeah. Now, that is an absolute minimalist version that I just gave you. Okay, that is the simplest way that I could describe that. So it may not sound like much, but when you consider that this was at a time without motor vehicles, this was not some day trip. This was not just some joy ride down the road.
Took a while.
It had its share of obstacles that settlers had to overcome. That is what led to the concept behind this game. So again, you may be asking, what did they have to overcome? Well, that boils down to just about any and everything. Because the game itself really works as a resource manager, if you think about it. You start the game with limited funds that have to last you the entire trip. So that already sounds like hell to me, since there's no prospect of really earning any more money. However, there are additional options to help you assist you along the way, but that still doesn't make it easier, because you have to figure, what do you need? You have to worry about food, you have to worry about ammunition, you have to worry about clothing, medical supplies, resources for repair, the oxen pulling your wagon. You know, these are the things you need for your journey.
Uh-huh.
And along the way, you can encounter wild animals that are deadly. You know, like wolves, snakes, shit like that. You can encounter bears. You encounter illness in numerous forms.
Yep.
As you said, dysentery.
Dysentery will get you, man.
Yep. All from drinking water, damn it. You're thirsty.
Potable water. You just need it.
Then you have to struggle with famine. Maybe you don't have enough food for your family. You could have 4 or 5 people, and then it's just like, well, who's going to eat today? Who knows? Then you have to worry about that. What's that going to do to you? Is that going to make me sick? I don't know.
Maybe you're a bad shot and just can't get more food along the way. Yeah.
And then it's the hazard of hunting. So you have to go out. What if you can't hunt everything? What if you can't get enough rabbits or deer or whatever the fuck, and then you encounter a bear, and then you're screwed there too.
Yep.
More hazards. But worst of all, you can have simple accidents, like falling off the damn wagon.
Yeah.
Breaking a limb, or worse. And then, worst of all, that gamble when you come across the river. Yeah. Do you cross it, or do you go around?
Or do you wait and see if it goes down the tide? Yeah.
And the one thing to keep in mind as you make these decisions is you are on a time limit. Mm-hmm. Insofar as understanding that if it takes you too long to get to the mountainous areas, winter will come. You know, as they said in that show that everyone hates now. And you are going to have to try and survive the mountains in winter.
Yeah.
Not happening.
No.
See the problem? You're trying to beat the rush.
Yep.
So the game itself is actually kind of programmed to represent a 2-week journey from Independence, Missouri to the Willamette Valley in Oregon, with the obstacles being thrown at you in fairly random succession, which adds to the game's replayability. Because you don't know what's going to happen. You could have the easiest time. You could die within 3 or 4 moves and just be like, hell with it.
We were out for 3 whole days.
Ironically, The hardships of the journey are actually the selling point for most people. Can I survive the journey? What could I have done differently? Regardless of how you adjust your choices, it just may not matter through the playthrough. One may even argue that the game is made for sadists who just want to suffer along with their fake family because they enjoy watching everyone die and wonder how it's going to happen this time. Little Billy,
Get him this time.
little Billy drowned in the river last time, and this time he got bit by a rattlesnake.
So we left him.
And it's just like, we can't do nothing for him. Just put him down, Ma. I would argue the challenges of the game are kind of what make the game so inviting. But to each their own. In 1995, yes, we took a jump. The game alone was responsible for 1/3 of MECC's annual $30 million revenue.
Ooh, that much?
Yeah. More updated ports found their way to more platforms like DOS, Windows, Macintosh. In fact, MECC had eventually shifted their focus away from computer resources for schools and just focused on the software. So they wanted to make more software as opposed to being like, they can buy a computer. Let's keep it here. Focus on the educational titles, and that we'll have so much more for them to take in. That shift saw MECCs looking to branch out into other platforms, and they kind of needed the capital to do so. But the state of Minnesota just didn't have it. You know, they really couldn't help out. So in 1991, MECC spun itself into a private corporation, and by 1995, it was acquired for $370 million by Canadian software company SoftKey. Problem here is that SoftKey could give shit about children's education. They wanted the money. And they could earn all the money through the games in which they took. And they practically destroyed MECC after they acquired them. It's like, no more.
Yeah.
But, in a fun sense of watching dominoes fall, SoftKey, which had acquired and taken the name of another software developer known as the Learning Company, they were then acquired by Mattel in 1999 in what Business Week called one of the worst deals of all time.
For a Learning Company, right?
No, for SoftKey.
Oh.
Well, I guess technically they would have been, because for some reason they bought them and then they took their name, so they were the Learning Company, even though they weren't the original Learning Company.
Kind of like how Atari now is not Atari.
Right, there you go.
Okay.
So, why, you may ask? Why was this a terrible deal? Well, you see, Mattel, they were already in a very, very bad place financially. And they were just trying to figure out what they could do, and they were trying to pivot, and then they started to buy up all this edutainment stuff, and they were like, edutainment, that's going to be the thing. And not realizing that by the end of the 20th century, the term edutainment was toxic.
Oh.
No one wanted edutainment. They were like, nah, no one wants that. Now, granted, this is an oversimplification, honestly, because I don't have the time to explain all the financial reports and analyses, and you don't want to hear that, so take it as a win.
Yeah.
The Learning Company brand maintained for a few years, releasing several more editions of the Oregon Trail on PC. But like I said, it just, at some point after Mattel got its hands on it, and the game went stagnant after 2001 until the game license found its way to Gameloft. Gameloft apparently had a passion for this game. So they developed an updated version of the game, beginning with the Nintendo DSi. And it didn't really attempt to recreate anything different. They just gave it a nice shiny coat of paint, you know. But
a little refresher, new dress.
You know, because if the axle ain't broke, then the wagon can keep moving, as they say.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
In fact, Gameloft's version was the most dynamic version to date at that time, utilizing a hand-drawn aesthetic for visuals. And while I can't swear to it, I really feel like I own this game. Like somewhere in my head, I feel like I did buy this because I had a DSi.
Yeah.
I knew the DSiWare title. That's what this was. This wasn't something you go to the store and buy. You had to buy it on their platform. Oh. And when I looked at pictures, I was like, I did play this. I'm almost positive I played this. But my brain, 2009 was so long ago.
It really was.
So my brain is like, I feel confident in saying that. Gameloft went a step further, and they developed 2 sequel titles, Oregon Trail Gold Rush and Oregon Trail American Settler. Those I did not play, but they were also ported to the DSi, and they also moved them to mobile devices because that was starting to become a thing around those times, I guess.
Time, like 2007-ish, I guess, is when we started getting smartphones, touch screens and shit.
Now, newer versions of the game can be found on Apple Arcade, Nintendo Switch, and even Steam. The original code of the game was even uploaded to the internet to allow the curious to download and play. And if I can find that link, I'll send. It's complicated. In fact, let me just rephrase that. Go to the Digital Antiquarian, like I told you. Find this article. He has all the steps laid out.
Oh,
because
nice.
there are steps.
I'm
so
sure.
Yeah.
To get it to work with this stuff.
Yeah, sure. Like you have to type this in, then you have to put in a code, then you download.
Is it going through DOS?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably a shell or something like that. I don't know, but to my knowledge, as of 2019, when it was updated, it's there.
Okay.
So it may be gone. I don't know, but just understand it may or may not be there. The legacy of the game spawned off spin-off titles like the Yukon Trail, parody titles like the Oregon Trail.
I was hoping you were going to bring that game up. I had so much fun with it.
Yeah. When I'm saying, follow me here, maybe my accent.
Yeah.
Oregon, as in the state, Organ, like the organs in my body.
Yes. Organs.
So take a look at that. I remember playing that too. That was a lot of fun.
Oh my God, it's so much fun.
They also produced live action stage shows, musicals, and
I don't think I knew there was music.
I had no idea. This was news to me. Okay. And in a fun way of seeing the IP come full circle, Pressman Toy Corporation produced a board game based on the video game that was originally conceived as a board game. Okay. So that it actually happened. The idea the guy had, it came true.
It's interesting it went to electronic first then.
Yeah, I know.
Considering the day and age it was coming out. Yeah. Fun.
All of this begs the question, why does this game endure out of all the games meant for educational purposes? Because, like I said, I saw an episode of American Dad, and they ran with that idea where Steve was playing Oregon Trail and everything you see. And then the family kind of got roped into it, and then it became like a fantasy, what if they were on the Oregon Trail.
You get addicted to it, man. Like, once you get going.
Mm-hmm. Is the narrative that compelling? Are the stakes just so great that it allows us to imagine the hardships endured, and we just, in some strange way, we're hoping we can save the families? Mm-hmm. I have no idea. It's
I don't know.
The oddity out of the edutainment world. And whatever it is, it's proof of concept that people are willing to learn if you disguise it well enough.
Right? You just got to trick them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fun. Excellent. Yeah. No, that is kind of interesting how that stayed the test of time, because there's really no other edutainment titles that come to mind off the top of my head. I would probably have to dig and go, oh, yeah. Yeah. But
I mean, like I said, very memeable today, where you see so-and-so died of dysentery, or so-and-so did this and whatnot. And I don't know. It is really bizarre when you think about it long term.
Like, even kids today probably know it.
Yeah.
You think?
I mean, it's very possible. And to I would really hope, and granted, I haven't played one of these updated versions, but I have been tempted to go search just out of curiosity. But I'm curious to know how much of the educational aspect is still available. Like, have they removed some of those aspects?
I don't know. There was one that I played, and I'm pretty sure it was just on the browser. I didn't bother to download all of this stuff. That I could tell it was an updated version just by the coloring and stuff of it. It wasn't like that choppy bit style where it kind of flowed a little bit better. So maybe that was the updated version.
Yeah.
And it had been so long since I played the original when I was a kid at home that I don't know that I would necessarily remember if dialogue changed but I feel like I still broke wheels. I still got sick. I still couldn't shoot a bear. I was still having that issue.
I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this version they have on the Nintendo Switch, and I kind of want to play it. It looks really interesting. It's $30, but holy shit.
It's how much?
30, but wait until you see it. Like, I might plop down $30 for that, maybe.
Oh, that does look nice.
It does. Huh.
But I don't know about $30.
I know. I'm a penny pincher on that as well. So.
Like maybe for 15.
It's like
20 max for me. But I know Nintendo's a little more expensive on their store. Well, is it a Nintendo only?
No, I think it was on Steam, and this is the one that I mentioned at the end. I think it was on Apple Arcade, this and Steam.
Oh, well, this is definitely not one I played then. It was updated from the original, but it didn't look this pretty. Oh, okay. I might have to look a little bit more into that then when we're done here. But yeah, I know, still.
Okay.
I'm cheap. I'm like $30 for it, so no.
And this is nice. This is nice because now what this means, I don't know. This could be corporation talk. But it says respectful representation. For the first time, the game features Native American playable characters and stories celebrating the history and culture of the peoples who first lived on this land and still live here today.
Yeah.
Through thorough research and multiple academic consultants were involved in the game's production to ensure accuracy and respectful representation of all peoples depicted in the game. So some bit of history still kind of there, but maybe not as much. I don't know.
Yeah, I never know when they say those things, whether it was like a respectful or just omission. I don't know.
Sure.
But we'll see. I mean, probably a lot of our media would need that, and we're seeing it happen. Anyway. Yeah. Well, then check that out if you would like. It looks like you got a brand new well, I don't know how brand new. What year? An updated version?
I didn't.
Oh, it is new. 2022. It says November 14th. Whether that means just on Switch or in general, I don't know. It's on the Nintendo page. It says release date, November 14th, 22. So there you go. You want to relive your childhood, but in prettier colors?
Why not?
There you go, right? But I say that's our show. That's our show. You can hit us up sometime on Twitter at Super Mega Crash or go to Instagram to view the weekly icon art. Steven puts his time and love into.
Oh, y'all going to love this one today.
Oh, I can't wait. I mean, I've seen it. It's great. You know how this works. You can send an email to supermegacrash@gmail.com. And you can support the show by liking and leaving reviews on your preferred podcast app. And even by going to patreon.com/pencil and paper productions. And if you want more than just podcasting, head on over to youtube.com/pencil and paper productions for more. And we're getting better at Discord. Well, Steven's definitely getting better at Discord. I'm starting to suck again. So come help me be better by joining our Discord. Links are in the description down below. Thank you so much for listening. I am Lacey Finley.
And I'm Stephen White.
And you could join us again next time, Super Mega Crash siblings. But until then,
game on.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.